Yo, this is MegaManFan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and welcome back to the second part of my latest Wii U pickups. I wasn't even planning to get Fast and the Furious Showdown when I saw it, but the price was only a couple dollars over what it goes for on price charting, or at least at the time I picked it up it was comparable, and I decided when you consider what shipping would cost, since most eBay shippers don't ship for free, with some exceptions, I figured I actually save money by picking it up locally while I was already picking up some other things at Ben's. Become a part of the crew, heists, hijacks, and more. So let's see if it is indeed as fast and furious as Paul Walker and Vin Diesel would hope. R.I.P. Paul. So we have to boot it up on the Wii U and make sure it works. And it appears that we do have a tested and working game. But once again, Wii U Pro Controller is not supported. Oh, man. Well, at least they got it right with the Switch. Can't say that's the reason the Wii U was a failure. The Wii U was a failure because everybody thought it was an upgraded Wii, and why would they want an upgraded Wii when they already have a Wii? So people didn't realize it was an entirely new console, and the fact that it's backwards compatible with Wii games probably didn't help. It may have only added to the confusion. What's even worse is a Wii can play GameCube games, but a Wii U can't play GameCube games, even though it can play Wii games. Although, I do know from Modern Vintage Gamer that there are hackers out there who figured out a way to unlock the Wii's ability to play GameCube games on the Wii U. So, it can be done, but it takes a heck of a workaround. As for me, I'm not going to jailbreak my Wii U because it's only had one owner ever, and that's me, and I like to keep it in the condition I bought it in. But if I ever picked up a second Wii U for cheap at a thrift, flea, whatever, I'd go ahead and jailbreak that sucker and do all the homebrew channel applications that I wanted to. But for now, I'm happy just to have a Wii U that works and can play all the games I want to play, even if they don't support the Wii U Pro Controller. So, I will say that one of the things that concerns me, both with the Wii U in general and collecting for modern consoles in particular, is that someday the supported downloads to get your game up to the latest version are not going to be supported anymore. Those servers are going to go offline. Those software companies are not going to support them. Nintendo is not going to uplink to them. You know, you'll have to have some sort of archive out there somewhere for all the different updates and patches that come out after a game is physically released. And if that archive doesn't exist, then you're going to have dead games. You're going to have physical games that you can put into a working console if it has been retrofitted, made up to date, caps replaced, or whatever you'd have to do in a modern console. I don't even know if there would be capacitors in a modern console. I assume there would be. But if you don't have those patches and downloads and updates, then you're either going to not get a working game, no matter whether it's on the physical disc or not, and you have a working console or not. It's just either going to be not working or working suboptimally to the way that it should be. So somebody out there better start archiving all of these updates that you have to download once you put a game in your Wii U, PS3, Xbox 360, etc. It's just inevitable that those servers will someday be inaccessible for one reason or another. This is why preservation and emulation are important. We have to preserve video game history, or it will become a mystery. Even if you don't care about it right now, even if you think it's meaningless right now because it's so recent, just consider that 35 years after Super Mario Bros. Came out at retail, we still can't find the exact retail date. We know it was 35 years ago, but not on what day it was available in stores, just 35 years ago. That's maddening. That information shouldn't be lost in a third of a century, and yet it's gone. Nobody can say what exact date one of the most definitive platforming games of all time came out in stores. So somebody write this stuff down. Somebody electronically record this stuff. Somebody preserve this information, because 35 years from now, when people do retrospectives of Nintendo products and say, well, let's look at the lineup for the Wii U, and then nobody knows anything because nobody thought it was important at the time. It matters. It will matter to somebody at some point. There will be someone who cares, who wants to know this stuff, and they won't be able to find out. Music is another problem. Games that have music, well, if there's no downloads anymore, then there's no music in the game anymore. If you can't access an online service to get all the options that are available for something like Just Dance 2017, how are people ever going to know? I mean, everybody's afraid of copyrights and limited time licenses and downloading and pirating and all these other issues, but preservation should be an issue as well. People should be able to know what songs were available for the game and what you had to pay for them if they were not built into the game. So here we have something that I didn't pick up from Trade Post or Ben's Game Zone. This I got off eBay because I had a heck of a time finding anybody locally that had Need for Speed Most Wanted U, or if they did have it, in a complete condition. And this one came on my radar because Metal Jesus Rocks did a video called The Wii U Games That You Should Own and Play, or the top Wii U games, something to that effect. And he had 36 games on the list. And Need for Speed Wanted Wii U was one of the ones that I didn't have. So I sought it out, I got it, and now I'm going to test it. And maybe, if I'm lucky, this one will actually support the Wii U Pro Controller. Because a driving game doesn't seem like something you would need a gamepad for. You just steer left, steer right, accelerate, decelerate. All the buttons, braking, drifting, anything you could do would be available on a Pro Controller. I don't know why you would need a gamepad for a driving game, but it has to download and update. I guess in some ways I am preserving and archiving the updates for Wii U games because I'm downloading them to an external storage device. So unless that device fails, I'll have all the updates on one hard drive. So it's being preserved by me, but if I'm the only one doing it and my hard drive fails, then we're all screwed, right? So I would suggest to somebody out there listening that you might want to do what I'm doing and complete a Wii U collection and get all those day one updates that you can and all the patches that you can and put them on one external drive. And don't just plug a USB drive into your Wii U. No matter how big the storage space, it won't get the job done because you need a powered hard drive. First of all, flash drives are volatile, so that data could be lost if you use and reuse it enough times. It could just go away. And second of all, it won't have enough power from the USB port to support it. You need an external hard drive that comes with its own power supply, as I found out the hard way because I had to finally get one off Amazon and pay like 70 or 80 bucks for it because everybody uses little portable drives anymore that are powered by MacBooks and laptops. So it's increasingly difficult to find an external hard drive with its own power supply. These are issues that nobody ever thought would be issues, but because the Wii U doesn't provide enough voltage to an external USB drive, a lot of them just aren't going to work. You might get lucky and get one that's low power enough that you can load data to it, but don't count on it. It's maddening, some of the things that you have to do just to be able to play games that aren't that old. This is less than a decade old at this point. Wii U games are the last decade of video games. So there are already issues, and it's not even a full generation gone yet. We've only had the Nintendo Switch for a few years as the successor to the Wii U, and a lot of games from the Wii U are still being ported to Switch because it has such a huge install base comparatively. Like, 4 times the number of Switches have sold in just a few years compared to the Wii U over its entire lifetime. It's blown it out of the water. It actually made Nintendo the most profitable company in Japan for all of 2020. Anyway, we move on to another pickup from Ben's, Planes Fire and Rescue, which was more than it generally goes for used, but less than it supposedly goes for new and sealed. So I thought that was splitting the difference nicely to the point that I would buy it, take it out of the shrink wrap, and play it for myself. And much like opening Just Dance 2017, which I got for just $9 from a Walmart, it is a treat to open a sealed Wii U game in 2020 or even later if you're watching this. If you have that chance, avail yourself of it. It just feels really good to take a disc out and look at it and know no one has ever touched this. No laser has ever read this. It is as shiny as a new penny, and you can't get that kind of satisfaction from a used game. Not decrying used games, I'm just saying once in a while, this is a treat that you should enjoy. Now, I know a little bit about the Cars franchise. I know absolutely nothing about the Planes franchise other than I have one other game for Wii U, which is not called Fire and Rescue. It's just called Planes. Plain old Planes. But from everything I've seen, both Planes games look like they took the same concept as Cars, which is making automobiles anthropomorphic living things and doing the same thing with airplanes, giving them personalities and identities and goals and humanizing them in every way possible. But since I know it's a working game, since I just put it in and this video is getting kind of long, we move on to SpongeBob SquarePants Plankton's Robotic Revenge, which I picked up at Trade Post. So we had quite a mix here for these 2 parts of the Retro Hunting Adventures with Wii U. About half the games came from Ben's, about half came from Trade Post, and a couple came from eBay. This one looks like it's in fairly good condition for a SpongeBob game. It can be kind of worrisome when you pick them up because, generally speaking, although not in all cases, but generally speaking, children can be kind of rough on their video games, and SpongeBob games are played by children. So even though there may be a lot of copies of SpongeBob games floating around out there in the wild, finding one that's playable because it hasn't been beat up to heck, especially if it's a disc-based game, if it's on DVD, Blu-ray, or CD, you're going to have some trouble. Because a lot of them have already been used like a frisbee, chewed on by a dog, or just carelessly thrown around in somebody's living room. Anyway, it appears I've got a working game here, and Plankton is going to get his robotic revenge by taking these batteries that fell off whatever boat was floating above him and building a giant robot to attack the Krusty Krab and presumably steal the secret formula for Krabby Patties so the Chum Bucket can take over the world. And of course, Mr. Krabs is busy counting his money when Plankton attacks with his giant life-sized robot version of himself. This looks like it'll be a fun game. Maybe they should remaster this one for the Switch. It's not like they haven't already done it with Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, so rehydrate this one while you're at it. Or at least, based on what I'm seeing, it looks like it would be worth the trouble. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching.
3 hours later.
So do I.